Disneyland is a place where we all put our worries aside and enter the ages of childhood for the day. While there, you can witness some truly remarkable things such as the delicious foods, the magnificent rides, and even the extraordinary parades. While these things are the primary reason for Disneyland to be widely known by the world, that doesn't necessarily hide its cons. Since opening, we've seen many accidents happen around the park annually, but 10 of them are more tragic than the others. If you have a weak stomach, then I'll advise you to watch at your own risk as we count down the 10 most tragic accidents to ever happen at Disneyland. Number 10. A 6-year-old girl loses most of her finger at Disneyland. On January 21st, 2001, 6-year-old Priscilla Figueroa was enjoying her day at Disneyland with her grandmother. Her trip to the park turned out to be an unforgettable experience for all the wrong reasons. Priscilla slipped off the playground while her finger was stuck to the trigger of a toy gun. 2/3 of her left index finger was ripped from her hand as she fell to the ground. The incident was reported to the Division of Occupational Safety and Health. Apparently, there was an illegal loophole that only requires parks to report injuries that occur on moving rides. While Disney wasn't obligated to report the incident, other sources decided to share the information. Disneyland responded by saying that everything was operating normally on the island and that the playground would remain open. Number 9. Accidents on Space Mountain injures 9 passengers. In August of 2000, Disneyland's Space Mountain roller coaster made a violent emergency stop when a wheel assembly came loose from one of the cars. The initial report suggested that the accident only caused minor injuries to 9 passengers. An Anaheim fire captain claims that the park deliberately concealed the full extent of the accident and the resulting injuries. Other firefighters reportedly heard Disneyland security officers congratulating themselves for keeping the details off emergency radios. A year later, the truth came out. Jonathan Woodcock and his wife Julie filed a lawsuit against Disneyland in 2001. Jonathan suffered 13 bulging discs, nerve damage down his spine, broken teeth, and a dislocated jaw. Julie had 2 herniated discs and suffered permanent damage to a hip, knee, and shoulder. State officials said that if the same accident occurred today, there would be a full-blown investigation. Number 8. Disneyland's first fatality. Disneyland was a perfectly safe amusement park from 1955 when the park reopened until 1964. But in May of 1964, their flawless record came to an end when a 15-year-old boy died while riding the Matterhorn bobsled. Like most rides, it's imperative that you keep your arms, legs, and body inside the vehicle at all times. The 15-year-old unbuckled his seatbelt just as the ride approached the top of the mountain. While the ride came roaring down the hill, he stood up, lost his balance, and was thrown out of the car and landed on the track below. The accident broke his ribs, caused several internal injuries, and fractured his skull. The boy never regained consciousness. He died 3 days later. Number 7. Don't sneak into Disneyland. In June of 1966, 19-year-old Thomas Guy Cleveland was killed while attempting to sneak into Disneyland. Cleveland managed to climb over the park's 16-foot fence and onto a monorail track leading into the park. The devious plan seemed to be working until a security guard noticed him. To make matters worse, a monorail was already making its way towards the tracks at a total mile of 25 miles per hour. The guard shouted at Cleveland to watch out for the approaching monorail. Cleveland jumped and landed on a fiberglass canopy beneath the track. Unfortunately, the canopy did not provide enough clearance. The underside of the monorail struck Cleveland and dragged his body 40 feet down the track. By the time the monorail had made a complete stop, his body had been torn to pieces. Number 6. Roger Rabbit ride seriously injures and eventually kills a young child. On September 22, 2000, a 4-year-old named Brandon Zucker suffered injuries that would ultimately result in his death. Brandon fell out of the taxicab on Disneyland's Roger Rabbit cartoon spin ride and was folded in half when another vehicle rolled over him. 10 minutes later, when emergency personnel were finally able to free Brandon, he had gone into cardiac arrest and required resuscitation. Brandon suffered serious injuries and irreversible brain damage. He never spoke or walked again. After a painful struggle that lasted for years, Brandon finally died on January 26, 2009. The State Division of Occupation Safety and Health determined that Disneyland employees failed to properly secure Brandon's lap bar and ordered the park to make safety changes to the ride. Disney settled out of court with the Zucker family, but did not assume legal responsibility for the accident. Number 5. Death on Big Thunder Mountain. Every now and then, an accident occurs at Disneyland, and the park doesn't blame it on the recklessness of its visitors. That was the case on September 5, 2003, when a car on the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad partially derailed. This crash killed 22-year-old Marcelo Torres and injured another 10 passengers. Park staff had noticed an unusual sound coming from the train, but no maintenance was done on the broken ride. It turns out that a mechanic didn't tighten a couple bolts or attach a safety wire to the wheel assembly. This allowed the train to separate from the track. The state ordered Disneyland to retrain its maintenance workers. A month later, after the ride was reopened, 2 trains had crashed during a test run, and the state ordered Disneyland to retrain its workers again. In a confidential settlement with the Torres family, Disneyland was forced to admit responsibility for the accident. Number 4. Drowning in the rivers of America. In June of 1973, an 18-year-old named Bogdan Dorote and his 10-year-old brother decided to make the most of their Disneyland experience by hiding in the park past closing time. Tom Sawyer Island seemed like a perfect place to avoid detection. After a few extra hours spent roaming the island, they decided it was time to leave. Unfortunately, there was no way off the island, and calling for help would have definitely landed them in a heap of trouble. The 2 boys decided to swim across the rivers of America, despite the fact that the younger boy didn't know how to swim. Bogdan decided to carry his brother on his back while he swam to shore. Sadly, Bogdan had drowned halfway across the river in an attempt to swim back. The 10-year-old boy had still managed to stay afloat while dog paddling until a ride operator was able to come and rescue him. Bogdan's body was found the following morning. Number 3. Death on Christmas Eve at Disneyland. Christmas Eve 1998 was a tragic day for Disneyland. As the large Columbia ship was arriving at a dock, an employee jumped from the ship and prematurely secured its rope around a mooring post. The cleat, which was designed to keep the ship motionless at the dock, was not strong enough to keep moving the vessel. As the tethered ship continued to move forward, the metal cleat tore from the ship's hull and was sent tearing towards a crowd. The metal cleat had ripped through an employee's ankle, struck Luan Fee Dawson in the back of the head, and hit Dawson's wife in the face. The couple was rushed to the hospital, but Dawson died 2 days later, where he was removed from life support. This was reportedly the first accident in Disneyland's history where the park assumed full responsibility. The incident resulted in a settlement worth over $20 million. Number 2. Disneyland's America Sings attraction kills an 18-year-old employee. Disneyland unveiled the America Sings attraction in the summer of 1974. The seemingly docile attraction featured a rotating theater and singing robot animals. In July 8th of 1974, 9 days after the show had opened, an 18-year-old hostess was killed at the end of the 10:30 p.m. show. Exactly what went wrong remains a mystery to this day. Somehow Deborah Stone got stuck near a moving theater wall and was crushed against a stationary wall as the show rotated back to its starting position. Audience members heard Deborah scream, but it was too late. Deborah suffered a gruesome death before operators arrived on the scene. This horrible accident was resolved with a small settlement between Disneyland and Deborah's parents. Safety lights were installed at the walls of the theater, were redesigned so that they could break away in similar situations. The attraction was officially shut down in 1988, and Deborah's screams still give everyone the chills to this day when heard. Number 1. The People Mover becomes the People Killer. Disneyland's People Mover had a maximum speed of 2 miles per hour. The ride's seemingly harmless speed probably contributed to the fearlessness and carelessness that killed the following passengers. On August 21, 1967, 17-year-old Ricky Liyama was crushed to death while riding the People Mover. Ricky decided that he would jump in between 2 of the moving cars just as the ride was entering a tunnel. Sadly, he missed, fell onto the tracks, and was run over by an oncoming train. The ride had to be taken apart to remove his body. On June 7, 1980, Gerardo Gonzalez decided he would duplicate Yama's fatal stunt. As the People Mover was entering the super speed tunnel, Gonzalez jumped between cars and fell onto the track. The oncoming train crushed Gonzalez beneath its wheels and dragged his body a few hundred feet down the track before coming to a stop. Those are the 10 most tragic accidents at Disneyland. My deepest condolences go out to the families of the deceased. With that being said, that concludes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you find this video interesting, please drop a like to help out the channel. And if you're new, I plan to make more mysterious videos like these in the future. So if this content is right up your alley, feel free to subscribe. One button makes a true difference. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Keep on rocking.